You fall asleep, then suddenly you are no longer sleeping. You are conscious, but you cannot move. You cannot talk. You feel a shadow hover over you, an intense pressure, then nothing but fear. This phenomenon is called sleep paralysis. It can occur either when you are falling asleep or when you are waking up. Some causes of sleep paralysis may include anxiety, poor sleeping habits, post-traumatic stress disorder, stress, or possibly disrupted sleeping patterns. During sleep paralysis, people typically report hallucinations, most of them being of a dark shadow or a looming figure. So, the big question is, why do people hallucinate shadows during sleep paralysis? Why is it these big dark shadows that appear versus anything else? Now, because this topic is fairly new, the information is limited. While there is still no clear answer for the shadows, there are theories waiting to be tested empirically. One of them being that the right hemisphere of the brain is responsible for this image that people see. Now, before we get into the theories, we must first understand what a hallucination is. So, what is it? It is a false perception of sensory experience. So, seeing something that is not there. During sleep, there are different types of hallucinations: hypnagogic or hypnopompic. Hypnagogic hallucinations happen when someone is falling asleep, whereas hypnopompic hallucinations happen when someone is waking up. There are equally three types of these hallucinations: vestibular motor, intruder, and incubus. Vestibular motor are described as euphoric sensations, feelings of floating, falling, or flying. Intruder hallucinations are maybe paranormal creatures, aliens, witches. It can include auditory hallucinations, footsteps, verbal threats, even a sensation of being grabbed. And finally, incubus refers to visual hallucinations, perceptions of bodily contact, feelings of pain, fear, or death. Sleep paralysis can include a variety of these hallucinations. They can be grouped together or they can be separate. Research shows that hallucinations happen in the frontal lobe, which is why the theory may be correct in assuming that the reason we see these shadows are because of something that is happening in the right parietal lobe. So, a working theory for the shadow aspect is the involvement of the right parietal lobe. So, this theory was put forth by researcher Dr. Balan Jalal and neuroscientist Vila Yanor Ramachandran. Disturbance of the right parietal cortex explains the shadowy nocturnal bedroom intruder hallucination during sleep paralysis. So, it could be caused by an interference in the multisensory processing of body and self at the temporoparietal junction. The shadow may be a result of body image in the right parietal regions, which is the same circuits that control the aesthetic and sexual preference of body morphology. So, the same area where we process body image, if there is an interference in that area, it may be why people see a shadow during sleep paralysis. Now, there are no studies on this theory, but it is a promising theory. On the other hand, another theory that was brought forth was that the involvement of the left hemisphere. An experiment was conducted on a 22-year-old female patient where electrical stimulation was put on the left hemisphere of the brain. And then the patient then described the feeling of someone beside her. So it's possible the left hemisphere might have something to do with it as well. Now, sleep paralysis is still relatively new, and there's still a lot of research to be done. But we can see from this information that the right parietal lobe may be an indication of why we see